I'm going to show you how we make schiacciata con l'uva, a beautiful Italian flatbread. So to make this beautiful schiacciata con l'uva, we're going to start out by actually mixing a dough. Okay, grab your bowl. So I've got 420 grams of unbleached organic flour. For the yeast, we're using 10 grams of fresh baker's yeast. Consider the bowl have a separation down the middle. Mm-hmm. On the top side of that, we're going to crumble the yeast into that. Now we're going to add the salt. And salt is a very important part of baking because it actually works as a preservative and it actually works as a retarder, so it controls how the yeast works through the dough. So if we didn't add any salt to the dough, we would just have a dough that would just explode. It would be way too active. All right, add 10 grams of salt to the bottom part of our separation in the bowl. And the reason why we do that is that the yeast and the salt, if they start touching each other straight away, it will actually start killing the yeast.
Oh, wow.
We're going to add 10 grams of virgin olive oil. And the last thing we're going to add to this dough is some cold water. When I say cold, I mean cold out of the tap. It's another one of these misconceptions about bread making, that you use warm water to dissolve the yeast in the warm water. And what you do, actually, you make the activity happen way too fast. We want to really slow this process down and let our kneading process start heating up the dough. So we've got 285 grams of water, and it's time to mix. So grab the spoon and then start slowly moving around in the bowl, pushing into the dough. Use the side of the bowl and just make sure it all kind of assembles into one round ball. It will start to feel very wet, the dough, which we wanted to do. And this is one of the places where people make a mistake. They start adding flour. We want it to be sticky. And then we've just scraped the whole thing out on the table. Take your dough, push out, lift up, and come back on top of it. So we knead for 5 minutes.
This looks fun.
It does look fun.
The trap that everybody falls into at this stage, they go, oh, I've got to add flour. It sticks to my table, it sticks to my hand, and they start adding all this flour. And by doing that, we get a very dry dough, and it actually becomes a dough that's really hard to proof later on. So we actually can end up with quite a flat bread.
Wow.
All right, guys, they look fantastic. Now we need to let the dough rest for 2 minutes. Here's a bowl. We just basically take the bowl, tip it on top like that. And we're going to do this for a total of 6 times. And you will see every time, every step we do, the dough starts getting smoother and stronger and less sticky. All right, this is our 6th and final time to actually knead the dough. The reason why we do this up to 6 times is to get perfect dough development. And it's really to get the dough as strong as we can. And we want the whole thing to be very elastic. That's it, that's all we really have to do. So we're going to cut a little piece of dough off and then start slowly just letting the dough stretch. Just be very gentle. You can see now, can you see that membrane that I get here?
Oh, yeah.
That means the dough is now fully developed.
Okay.
We're going to now allow the dough to proof for an hour. Mm-hmm. Get your bowl and use a tiny bit of olive oil. Make sure you don't put too much, 10 drops or something like that, into your bowl, and just oil the inside of the bowl. Pick up the dough and then drop it into the bowl.
Why do we need to oil the bowl?
Without oiling the bowl, it'll stick to the bowl and we'll actually start tearing the dough when we take it out.
Okay.
Okay, a little bit of plastic wrap on top. And now we're going to leave that for an hour. All right, it's now proven for an hour.
Yep.
Take the plastic wrap off. So we're slowly letting the dough come out of the bowl with help of the scraper, and you can see how the oil is helping that it doesn't stick to the bowl. This is a beautiful living thing, and we really want to just be very gentle. So push it down, just a tiny bit, flatten it down, lifting it up, and like that.
Wow.
Super cool.
Folding it over again, folding it over again, and there is the next step.
Wow.
And we put that back in the bowl. Okay, so push down into the dough. Make sure you can feel that the gas getting out of the dough.
Yep.
Then you can start actually doing the first fold up and lift up the next one, and then push down, and then fold it over again.
It's actually quite easy to work with, a lot easier than I thought.
Yeah.
And then fold it over again, and then lift it up, turn it around, and just try and see if you can kind of like nearly shape it round. Just like that. Perfect, Aaron. And then pop it back into the bowl. Stick the cling film back on, and we're just going to leave that for like half an hour before we can start shaping schiacciata con l'uva.
Excellent.
Great.
Now it's already another half an hour. It's gone, and you can see how active the dough is. So let's get the plastic off it. And same technique as before, gently just scrape the dough out. We're going to be very, very gentle with the dough. The first thing we're going to do is cut down the middle. One of the pieces gets back in the bowl. The technique here is trying to create a beautiful oval shape out of this piece of dough without being too aggressive in remolding it. So got a little bit of olive oil and dip your fingertips in it. And then we'll pick up the dough and see if we can kind of like shape it into the beginning of this kind of long shape. And then I'll basically dip my fingers and squeeze into the dough. It's called dimpling, and you can push quite hard into it so we start getting a nice shape. So inside the bread now, we've got little air pockets that is developing while we're pushing down on it. What I would like you to do is lift it up and just give it a little bit of a stretch. And we're going to lift it up and put it on top of this grease-proof paper. All right, so now it's time to use some grapes, and we're going to use these very beautiful organic seedless grapes. We'll push them into the dough. Just get them in there. There's a couple of different variations, of course, of a recipe like this. Aniseed has been used a lot in these recipes. I've made one where I used cherries instead of grapes during the cherry season. This is beautiful.
Awesome. Yeah.
Push the grapes in, get them into the dough. Okay, we're going to finish up with drizzle on the rest of the olive oil. We're going to use some raw sugar to put on top. It actually gives a beautiful crunch when it gets baked. We're just going to leave it for 15 minutes on this tray to actually proof up. Cover them with plastic wrap. So when we bake it, we get a lot better crumb structure, and we see the dough proving up around the grapes.
Cool.
All right, it's time to put them in the oven.
Cool.
I'll put the oven on 210 degrees.
Yep.
Drop directly down on the stone, one at a time. And here's the one I made. We'll drop that straight on the stone. There we go. 15 minutes, and we'll wait. All right, let's have a look. Oh, look at that. They're ready.
Fantastic.
All right, let's have a look at this one. Aaron? Marion? And I tricked you, Aaron. This is yours.
I thought so. It's the one with character.
All right, look at that. They just look fantastic. Look how the sugar has caramelized.
Wow.
The grapes is cooked and sunk into the bread.
They smell fantastic.
Yeah,
Why don't we cut yours up, Marion, and have a good taste?
Oh,
Look at that.
Really
that's
good.
really good.
That looks really good.
I mean, that's just fantastic.
Wow.
Look inside that.
That is amazing.
Nice crust, great crumb structure inside, juicy grapes. Have a taste. Grab a piece.
Ladies first.
Thanks, Aaron.
No problem.
Be careful, it's hot, but that's a part of it.
That is so good.
Oh. Can you taste a bit of the beautiful dough? You can taste the sweetness of the grapes.
It's perfect. I've never been able to make bread like this at home.
It's fantastic.
No.
It's kind of like eating a sweet pizza almost. It's fantastic. Really, really cool. I love it.
Just to recap, 3 major tips making schicciata con l'uva. Number 1, choose really good ingredients. Choosing good flour. We're using organic grapes. Number 2, stretch out the process. Make it last a long time. Use cold water at the beginning. Work in a not too hot environment. And just let the dough develop over time. Let it rest and come back to it. Then the third one is bake directly on the stone in the oven. You get good crust and you get that authentic baking that you're looking for.